Well, the moment is here. And the time is now as we get set for one of the biggest races on Canadian soil. It's the Pepsi North America Cup, $1 million on the line. We have assembled a fantastic group of 3-year-olds to compete in this year's event, and it all started at Greenwood back in 1984. This is a race that is now steeped in history, and we look forward to celebrating it here tonight on a beautiful night for horse racing here in the province of Ontario. My name is Elisa Blow, and my co-host is the always wonderful Hall of Famer, Randy Waples. Randy, tonight is basically Christmas for all of us in horse racing. We wait for this all year round. It's one of the biggest nights of the year, and you and I are certainly pumped about it.
Yeah! Finally, it's here. Okay, now we can go.
Now you're good?
Carry on.
You're good?
Had to get
I was
it out.
kind of for a minute, I was like, are you tearing up?
Yeah.
Are you getting emotional about this?
I think
What's
his
going
eyes
on?
are going crossed.
Are you suggesting something with Dave Miller with the purple shirt? See, people are going to be thinking about that.
Purple,
I got the Don Cherry
Buckeye.
on
There
tonight.
you go.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Big night. So what do we do?
I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I mean, Lisa, we say this every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the time, oh my God, the North American Cup, it's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. And finally it gets here, and it always seems to me like, we have the NA Cup, and then all of a sudden, we go through a bit of a lull. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to be here, and then boom, here it is again. And I'm going to tell you something. I've seen a lot of NA Cups in my life. I've never seen one this stacked. I'm not saying that, we haven't had great NA Cups in the past. We haven't had some really great horses. But this one, to me, top to bottom, 10-1, 1-10, evenly matched.
See, this one feels to me like one of the most wide open cups we've had in a while, because normally there's horses that are really under the radar. Last year we were talking about both of Casey Coleman's horses, and Najinski, of course, ended up getting the win. But, this year just feels so wide open that maybe a horse at a big price could upset tonight. That would be kind of interesting to see if that happens. How many stakes tonight? 6 major stakes races on tonight's program. We are blessed with equine athletes and humans that are a part of the team as well tonight. You were lucky enough to sit behind a winner in the NA Cup not so long ago, 2012. But you know what? When you won the race and you did it with Thinking Out Loud, even today, you get a little emotional because it's obviously one of the biggest races you can win as a driver, and of course as a Canadian driver too. But it's our first year without Bob McIntosh, and he was just so important to Canadian racing.
And his only NA Cup, my
amazing.
only NA Cup, his only NA Cup.
Meant to be.
Yeah, it was meant to be. Great trainer, going to be missed. But there's a guy that's actually been baby racing a few horses that worked for Mr. McIntosh for quite a few years. His name's Jeff Williams. You might want to take a look at him. He's got some 2-year-olds coming out, and they look really, really good.
Yes, so the legacy will continue,
I think
right?
so. I think so, yeah. I mean,
there'll
always, anybody that worked with Bob, drove for Bob or whatever, they'll always talk about Bob, and as long as you're talking about somebody, they'll never be forgotten.
Well, people like you and me, well, you more than me, been around for quite some time, right? We've been players in the game for a long time, and we often say, who's the next generation? Who's going to look after this after we've retired? And one of those guys started here with us a couple years ago. He's turned into a rock star, hasn't he? And that's John Rallis. John Rallis is a part of the team tonight. He's outside, standing by, all dressed up in a suit, looking incredibly dapper. John, welcome back. And again, another beautiful night for horse racing. We couldn't ask for better weather.
No, and thanks. It's great to be here, guys. 2023, I was standing in this very same spot with you two both on set, and we got a chance to work our first Pepsi North America Cup together. So to get this opportunity tonight to work again as a team together is going to be a great moment, and I'm really looking forward to it, as we all are. But as for the weather, we were expecting maybe a little bit of rain earlier on in the week. It's held off. We're in store for a beautiful night, and I hope the racing, shows that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have some of the best, and I think obviously we got to talk about the elephant in the room just for one quick second, and that's the absence of Chantilly tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really unfortunate. Boy, talk about a punch in the stomach yesterday when that came across the news. I mean, because we're all about racing. We're Canadians, and I mean, she was our Canadian, reigning horse of the year. We're all big fans of hers and big fans of the connection. So I think that a lot of Canadians were going to be cheering for Chantilly, even though Up till last week, Elisa, if anybody had said to me that there's a mare down in the filly down in the States that can beat Chantilly, I'd have said, no way. You know, no way. I mean, this one can almost beat the Colts. You know, there's no way. And then I got a chance to see Mickey and Minnie race last week,
neat.
And I'm telling you, boy, was this ever going to set up for a throwdown.
I hope we do see a showdown between those two at some point in time, though, this year.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's kind of what I like about, you know, I mean, yeah, it was disheartening, but they did the best thing for Chantilly.
Yes.
And that means that at some point this year, maybe the Breeders' Crown, they can hook up again, or maybe we're going to have to wait till they're 4-year-olds. But at some point, they're going to have a rivalry going, these two, and it is going to be absolutely killer for the industry because, you know, this is what we look for.
That's exactly right. And, you know, my heart goes out to George Millar, right, for tonight and all the connections of Chantilly. But I agree. They did the right thing by the horse, and they will be rewarded for that in the end.
If you do the right thing by the horse will do the right thing by you.
That's absolutely right. Now, tonight, we have a whole bunch of wagers that you can play, so many different ones, and they start off for you in race number 3 on the program tonight, where we kick off the early pick 4, but we have an early pick 5 for you as well. Now, we have 2 pick 5s on tonight's card. Both of them have a $100,000 guarantee, so that's exciting. So we have those. But of course, the mandatory payout for the pick 6 comes up on tonight's program as well. But a lot of people are talking about this Jackpot High 5, like $421,000. You and I have worked a lot of mandatory payouts for the Jackpot High 5. I don't know if I've seen one this big.
I can't remember one being this high. They let this one run for quite a while. So this was meant to come out on NA Cup night.
Exactly, because you guys freeze it,
yeah,
right?
That's
and
right.
Wait. But I mean, talk about a build-up. So that'll go as race number 13, and they don't make it easy for you because we look at $50,000 claimers. But if you're new to the racetrack here, you and I always talk about this. If you're new to the racetrack, this is a great bet to play with friends, people who are here. Everybody throw a couple of bucks in. Everybody puts in a few horses that they like, and you might get lucky and get it.
Sometimes it's numbers. Sometimes it's just the name. The name strikes you, and you throw that in. And like I said, anything can happen in one of those mandatories. You know, I don't think there's any real skewed logic to it.
No. And sometimes it could just be a quick pick.
That's it. Exactly.
Absolutely.
We've seen those win before.
All right, buddy. We have a lot to cover.
We got a lot to cover.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's program. Okay, we'll start things off with our first stakes event on this evening's program. That's the Roses Are Red final. Now, what I find interesting is this is the first year, Randy, that we're grading these stakes events. That's something you normally see in the thoroughbred world, but this is a grade 1, so it doesn't get any better than this. For the Roses Are Red, and the purse being offered is well over $287,000. You got a field of 8 who will line up. Big story here with Twin B Joe Fresh in town for Chris Ryder. I got to go out there and see Chris Ryder because I actually have a little connection to him vis-a-vis the thoroughbred world, because they actually have a horse that my parents bred that's been racing for them, for the Riders, and doing some winning.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
What, in New Jersey?
Down in the States, I think at Penn.
Nice.
So now all of a sudden we're all connected because Facebook is an amazing thing, isn't it, Randy? But he's got Twin B Joe Fresh in here, Dexter Dunn in to compete. Very, of course, lightly raced, just one start this season.
Yeah, you know, nice little tune-up in the qualifier, though, right? Last quarter in 25 and 4. That's enough to tune you right up. Let's take a look at that one. Yeah, Twin B Joe Fresh. I mean, an absolute. She's been the talk of you know, she has been the talk herself her entire career. But it seemed like, you know, like at one point, maybe Sylvia Hanover kind of could get the best of her. But we hadn't seen that at all last year. She definitely was the premier horse. Now, that being said, Sylvia Hanover has now come back and with a win, second start back. And look at that time, almost an identical time as what Twin B Joe Fresh qualified in at the Meadowlands. But just the difference of the quarter. But I'll take a 26 and 2 over Mohawk any day, over 25 and 4 over the Meadowlands. So I went 4 and 7. I think that these are the two that you really have to concentrate the heaviest on.
Well, before we get into picks, I mean, we're going to take you on the time machine back to October 26th of 2024 with the Breeders' Crown Open Mares final, where Twin B Joe Fresh was able to win, and it was just so easy for her that day. Sylvia Hanover was in that race.
Here she comes.
And she's coming. It's a great effort, But this is, I mean, come on. When you lift your hand up and you start pumping before the wire, you're pretty confident that you got the win. So we'll see the matchup again today. But Sylvia Hanover is our local horse, and she's just kind of a cool horse to watch because we're really fortunate we get to see her all the time. She can be so lazy, can't she? And especially when she goes to warm up. If you don't know her, you're going to think that's a plow horse out there on the racetrack. But it's Sylvia. Before we talk a little bit more about her, how about what Twinbee Joe Fresh has been able to accomplish? Like, look at the list of accomplishments that she's had. Now, she is the defending champion of this race. She's an O'Brien Award winner. She's a 2024 Dan Patch Horse of the Year. She's a Breeders' Crown champion. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And look at the bottom, $2.7 million in career earnings. What a machine she is.
She could probably potentially go down as one of the greatest pacing horses, pacing mares that we've ever had, you know, come around. And that's the big thing with her is that, you know, he's got so many different ways to race her. I always thought it was when they were 3-year-olds that maybe Sylvia could outpower her. Like she could come first over on her and beat her. Like she didn't really need the trips, but I honestly do think now that the only way that Sylvia Hanover is going to be able to beat Twinbee Joe Fresh right now is she's going to have to stay close to her. You know, stay very, very close. If she has to come a long ways, I don't think she's going to be able to track her down. So I think that placement behind the gate is imperative today for Bob McClure if he wants to get the job done with Sylvia. Now, that being said, like I said, I mean, he can do everything right, and maybe it's not going to be enough. Maybe Twinbee Joe Fresh is just going to be that much again this year. We're going to be finding out in about an hour or so, but really, really stacked bunch in here as well. And we got a couple of horses down on the inside, I think, Elisa, that could, you know, if anything happened that maybe Twinbee and Sylvia, maybe they didn't show up with their A games, I think the 1 or 2 could also come up with big, big efforts in here as well. And we also got to remember, too, in race number 3, there's no show wagering.
All right, yes. So the other interesting thing, just to mention quickly, is that Sylvia Hanover did win that preferred. She did win her preferred back on June the 7th. So we actually have that replay to show too, because this just gives you a little taste of when she starts to reel horses in. And that's just kind of her style. Like I said, she's a little lackadaisical, very lackadaisical, when she goes out to warm up. When she turns around, she knows it's all systems go. But she's this kind of a horse. She's a bit of a nail biter.
She is, but you know something, Elisa? I think she's come back stronger this year. As a, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you the reason why is last year, 17 starts, 3 wins. She's had 2 starts this year, already a win under her belt. You know, she only needs 2 more to actually duplicate what she did last year. And this is what I like about her. She's winning already, only the 2nd start back. I mean, again, you know, Bobby has to, you know, he works hard on her. You know, he's wheel discing, he's yelling, you know, I mean, he's making her pace on, but she never quits. That's the whole thing. If somebody quits, she's not gonna. She's just gonna keep coming at you and at you and at you. So really, really good throwdown in race number 3.
Sean Stacey, of course, the conditioner of Sylvia Hanover, our local hero. Race number 3 on the program tonight. We'll kick off the pick 4. We offer all sorts of different wagers for you here. Exactor, try, super, double, pick 3, swinger. Don't forget about that one either, Randy. And all of us taking a look at the 4 in this race. Now, okay, let me just be clear. I didn't pass along selections for tonight because I'm not here all the time.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And somebody would have to get bumped off of the board. And I don't think that's fair, you know, for our regular people that are here.
It's very kind of you.
But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to let you know horses I like.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
And some of them I like that are at pretty good prices.
Good. Let us know.
So we'll start off our stakes racing in the 3rd race, and then we go on with the program until race number 7, which is where the next stakes event goes. But in between that, you're going to see some pretty neat horses. Jabberwocky, one of our local favorites, will compete. We'll see Silver Walls, who we'll see what he can do after racing in London. Just some really neat horses on the program in between. But race number 7 is the Armbro Flight. Now, this is listed now as a Grade 2 event. The race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, with a field now of 9. That 10 horse has been scratched. That is a vet scratch from this race. So the Armbro Flight goes for a purse of over $210,000. The race kicks off the $100,000 all stakes guaranteed pick 5. So something really important to mention there. Now we have a few replays to talk about with some of these gals. We're going to start first with the horses that are coming out of the elimination wins. Now, what's interesting about this is if you try to look them up on YouTube, they're hard to find because this was the day that you guys had the 4 o'clock post time.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then you came back with your later post time.
Right,
So
right.
off card A, you will find the replays for the eliminations for the Armbro Flight, and this is the race for Dial Square.
Yeah, big effort here, and James McDonald picking Dial Square up tonight. Aki Svansved was listed on Dial Square. It's his horse, and he's going to elect to go to her next door neighbor, Call Me Goo. So James filled the vacancy, and boy, what a pickup! Win her elimination, look very, very powerful. Looks like you can race her different ways. If he wants to get her out of there, and a middle of the gate draw. Plus, you're racing for one of the greatest trotting trainers that's ever come around, Åke Svanstedt. So very, very interesting pickup for James, and I got her in for second.
All right, now here's Willie's Home Run, who's the other elimination win, another local horse that we know extremely well, trained, of course, by Rob Fellows. We'll get Tim Tetrick to do the driving tonight. James McDonald, of course, drove the horse last start out, and he opts to go elsewhere. He'll go to Dial Square, but Willie's Home Run, certainly a contender.
She is. It's interesting here is I think that maybe Louis kind of thought he had the race won. He was only really paying attention, I think, to Oak, and then he looks over right here, sees Willie's home run. He didn't expect this, and her momentum was going. I think he had the other ones measured. He just didn't pick up James until it was, maybe James's momentum was a little bit more than what his momentum was at that time. So I think it was, Willie, she deserved that race. She deserved the win. She deserved the mark of 51. She's done great things, just short of $1 million in her career, but I'm not 100% sure if that just wasn't a fantastic James McDonald drive, and I don't know if they're going to be able to repeat it.
Well,
so again, I think that Louis maybe just kind of got caught napping a little wee bit.
All right. Here's the throwdown, though, okay? Now, they're calling this the Scandinavian Smackdown. Sounds like a move for the old WWE wrestling, doesn't it? And
sure.
we've brought that up before. We've talked about the pile driver. We've talked about a few different moves over our time here commentating on the races. But Svanstedt versus Engblom, and just what we've assembled actually are just their North America wins alone. Because if we got into what they were doing in Sweden, I mean, it would just be huge. But look at what they've done just in North America alone. $65 million in earnings for the Svanstedt barn and the England barn, with $30 million in career earnings. It's unbelievable.
It is. I mean, what a career, you know what I mean? Both guys doing very, very well over here. And I mean, NA wins, it's very, very close. But Oka's got the huge on the money, $65 million.
Well, now in the ring, though, Randy, is the Giant versus the Specialist. The Giant being Ron Burke. Look at the wins.
Wow.
Look at the wins.
That's amazing,
Okay, and then, of course, Luc Blais, who is the Matra de determination, right? I don't even know if I said it right, but I think I could be close. The maître of determination, the master.
Yeah, the one that the 15,000 wins is absolutely unbelievable on Ronnie Burke, but I really got to move down to that earnings at $367 million. I mean, if this guy keeps going the way that he is, he legitimately could end his career with $500 million in earnings.
Wow.
Like, that is amazing. I know it's a lot to ask, but it's doable.
I'm going to ask him if I can borrow 20. I think we'll be, and I don't,
Could you buy
20,
us a coffee?
20 million, I mean. Yeah. One more to take a look at. And what would a fight be like without the underdog? And the underdog, of course, is the trainer of our own Willie's Home Run, earnings of $7.9 million, 536 wins, and that's Kyle Fellows.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to build your product around a young, very well-spoken, very intelligent trainer, this is the guy that you'd want to go. Comes from a great racing family, learn from the bottom up. Much, the same that a lot of the greats do, was doing stalls before he ever learned to jog one. And now his career, he's really starting to show, what he's capable of, and Woodbine Mohawk Park's leading trainer last year.
So we'll have that trainer showdown for you as race number 7 on the program. That's the Armbro Flight Final, $210,000 on the line, and lots of different selections in here. Randy, of course, going to Drawn Impression, the other determination horse that Luc Blais sends out. John Rallis going to Call Me Goo for the Svanstead outfit. And of course, we'll see Garnet, Ghislaine, and the morning line all going towards Dial Square, coming in off of that victory in the Elim.
What about the money that Call Me Goo put away last year? $730,000.
I know. These are all pretty nice horses that you'd like to have in your outfit, huh?
What a bunch, eh? What a bunch. Top to bottom.
All right, let's flip the page and go to race number 8, the Mohawk Gold Cup. It is a Grade 3 event. It's an invitational race, too, for the Pacers, $100,000 on the line here in a field of 10. Now, we see last year's NA Cup winner in this event, that being Najinski. I mean, what I find so cool about Najinski is the fact that I think we were all along for the ride, starting with this horse's very first victory as a 2-year-old, because we had Casey Coleman on the show via satellite from Florida one random day in the winter. Jeff Bratt and I were actually doing the show together, and we did a call in with her, and she said, I have this little horse named Najinski. And we said, well, that's a very famous thoroughbred. She said, yeah, somebody told me that. Well, the horse with the famous thoroughbred name became a pretty famous standardbred too. Najinski won last year's North America Cup and comes in off of a win in the Graduate.
I like the way that he raced. I mean, some people are going to say, he wasn't running away from them at the end, but I mean, this is the first time that he's raced him. He qualified him easy, and I think that he's going to be huge improvement from here. And I think that it could have been 1.25 miles, and I don't think that they were still going to beat them. There was horses coming fast on him, but I think at some point he was going to rebuff them as well. The one that I'm very interested in here, I got Brew Hanover in for second and a Buckabed in for third, but this Coach Stefanos, James McDonald has driven this horse a couple of times for Irv Miller. If I'm not mistaken, he might have won the Breeders' Crown with this guy last year. Producer Luke at the Meadowlands. I think James was down there and maybe got the job done with this guy. I know he won a big race with this guy, and he came right from dead last at the Meadowlands. Swooped the entire field.
Well, this has been an interesting addition here to Mohawk as well. Brew Hanover. I remember the first time he raced, actually, and he was getting out really bad coming down the stretch. Remember that, Randy?
Yeah.
And he still kind of did that. But looks like he's certainly maturing, and the Maneri trainee will get the services tonight of Yannick Gingras as his regular driver James McDonald goes to the 7, Coach Stefanos, and then there's one more replay to show you. And we're going to take you back to this one. This one still kind of stings a little bit when you watch Irvin Hanover get the win in the Camluck over at Western Fair. Yeah, he tried to find a spot or make a lane when there really wasn't much of a lane to be made. And Randy, you talk about it from a driver's perspective.
Well, I think the lane was there.
Well,
I do.
I think the pylons got...
I think at one point, I was sent the film, and I slowed it right down, and I think the room was there. That's just my opinion. I'm not a judge, but I got to go with the fact that I think the room at one point was there. And if at one point it's there, then it's got to stay there.
Oh, it's just so hard. You have a horse with all this momentum, and where else were you really going to go? One thing we learned is he can jump.
He can jump. Say a steeplechase. Right at the end of the mile, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, he'd be the only steeplechaser pacing in a race. But Mohawk Gold Cup will show you some of the stats for all of the horses that are going to be competing in tonight's event. And Clever Cody is a horse that I know you've been following for quite some time from the Ian Moore barn. Hasn't managed to win yet this season, Randy, but last year he was a 5-time winner, and I kind of feel like he was a bad luck horse, right? Just when something could go wrong, it seemed to happen to Clever Cody.
Yeah, it seems that way, but I think he's kind of came back. I'm not using him tonight, but I think he's come back a little bit strong this year, a little bit better, because I noticed that Louis was really trying to stay with him as much as he can. Now he ends up in against Najinski. Louis kind of has to go with Najinski in a way, you know what I mean? I mean, not only did the horse win him the NA Cup last year, but he's come back strong again this year, obviously, so he's going to keep this ride going, and that's going to leave an opening spot for Clever Cody. And Doc Moore always reaches into what I would consider to be his old reliable, and that's Dave Miller. Yeah. These two have combined to win so many big races over their career.
Now, as we take a look at the selections for race number 8, I just want to ask you, I know you had Casey in the studio yesterday. Did she give you any inside scoop that maybe you want to pass along?
No, she just said that she's really, really happy with the way way Najinski is right now, and she's really happy with the way that her 2-year-olds that she's managing are coming out. So yeah, she's it's always nice to have Casey in town because she really gives you a different kind of perspective about things, and I was asking her how she brought her NA Cups in, like what kind of a week did they have? How fast did you train them? You know what I mean? Did you change things up? Did you train them harder, slower? Not at all. And she was really, she was very open,
very
and
forthcoming.
very
I find
forthcoming.
With her.
And that's
really
the way
honest.
Casey is.
You know why? You know what? That's really going to serve her well when she's an agent buying horses for people, because that's what people want is honesty. Tell me honestly what you think about the horse. Don't blow smoke. Just tell me what you think.
No. One thing about her, she does have an honesty valve.
All right, let's go to race number 8 on the program tonight. This is the Good Times final. And, tonight's Good Times is maybe a little sentimental for Mr. Bax, because he is going into the Hall of Fame this year.
Very deservingly.
Yeah. And I mean, I think he was up for it a few times, too. So we'll have to congratulate him. And if you see him here on track, make sure you congratulate him. You don't get the ring till after, right, Randy?
Yeah, the day that you're there.
People always ask me, are you a Hall of Famer the minute they announce you're in the Hall of Fame, or are you a Hall of Famer the night they induct you? What do you think? I mean, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know I was pretty excited to get that phone call. I'll tell you that.
You want to show us the ring a little?
Oh, no, this is a different one.
Oh, you didn't wear it tonight?
No, didn't wear the Hall of Fame ring there tonight there, I just decided to throw old silver on instead,
just in case something happens later on tonight.
Yes,
I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, so the Good Times final for a purse of well over $220,000 in a field of 9 trotters in this event, and some of them are Hambo eligible, so that's interesting too. We have a couple of horses, obviously, coming out of the limbs that we want to spotlight. The first one being Galen Urso. Now, this is one that Doug McNair is going to drive for his dad, Greg. Huge opportunity in the family to get a big win for Brad Grant, who also happens to be going into the Hall of Fame as well. So look at this. It's a whole bunch of Hall of Famers in here.
Yeah, very interesting here, Elisa. You can see his lines before this last start there where he was elimination winner. The goal before that, a little bit wanting as far as I'm concerned anyway. Went off his favorite, but just didn't really do a whole lot in there. This night, Greg sends in a whole bunch of changes on this guy, Elisa. He changed his shoes, changed his bridle, and look at the way that he's racing tonight with all these changes brought in. He wasn't sleeping tonight. He had big movement on the end of it, but I can't say I love the way that the 2-horse, who I think could come up with a huge upset in here tonight, and I'm going to use him in for third, is LMC Wagon Wheel is what I took from that race. Galen Urso, LMC Wagon Wheel, very impressive.
I should mention that these replays are also from that card A, that early card that we had. So a Moticon Legacy is the other winner to highlight. This is another Luke Blais and Determination horse. Of course, you get Louis Waugh. He's really their go-to driver.
Yes. This is the route I'm actually going to go. I've loved this horse last year. I love the way that he's going to race in this one as well. Now, that being said, I would be remiss on not mentioning Landing on Time, who finished second to Galen Urso. Also going to stay with James and really looks good. And this could be another Xeron getting one ready for the Hambletonian sort of a thing. So interesting there. But boy, Emoticon Legacy, I mean, he just, to me, I'm going to look at it as a jogburger.
I bet the whole Xeron crew is here tonight, right?
I would imagine.
I feel like every NA Cup is when they have their family reunion. Everybody comes into town, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. And they live everywhere.
Exactly. They live all over the world.
Yeah,
pretty cool. So we'll be watching for those 2 horses in the final. But here's something else I want you to keep your eye on. These are some horses in the Good Times tonight that are eligible for the Hambletonian, and that takes place on August the 2nd at the Meadowlands. So there's 5 horses that you'll see this evening: Gap Chronos, Galen Urso, Moticon Legacy, Landing on Time, and Blank, who are all eligible for the Hambo. So it's a stepping stone. We could call the Good Times a stepping stone to the Hambo.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a stepping stone. A lot of these horses, that have raced in the Good Times have gone on and raced well in the Hambletonian.
Well, Kismet comes to mind,
yeah,
of course.
There's one.
And here's a look at the field once again, and just what they've been able to do in their career so far. But you talking about the 5, LMC Wagon Wheel is your top selection from the Baillargeon outfit with Tyler.
No, in for third.
In for third.
Yeah,
You're gonna use that one in for third.
I'm going right back to Luke Blais.
All right.
This is 2 for me.
But your brother has a horse in this race.
I was just going to say, sentimentally, I'm
Yes.
kind of hoping for the 7-horse Wild Turkey Hanover. But, this is a big step up for him, too. He's been down into the good times, or in the non-winners of 2. He exits non-winners of 2 with a win, goes his first start in against the good times, where he's got to face all these Bearcats, and it was a good one. I'm really, really happy with the last 3 quarters that he put up. That was a big last 3 quarters. He just kept getting better and better, drops his time down to 53. I think he could come up with a big mile, but I think he's going to have to come up with a big mile.
Well, I think your brother's due for another good one,
yes,
right? Because we've seen him with a few that are hit and miss lately. It's nice for him to get a good one in the barn, so we'll be cheering for that one as well in race number 9. The 10th race is the Fan Hanover. No-show wagering available for you in the Fan Hanover. Of course, we have that major scratch. Yesterday, I don't know how many people sent text messages to me, probably to you, Randy, to our producer, Luke, to John Rouse, saying Chantilly's out. It was breaking news, you know?
Some people were texting me, and I think that they were hoping that I was going to say, no, she's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like,
It's just
is
a bad
she
dream.
really out? You know what I mean? It was just such a crushing thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, at one point in time, so were a lot of other people, this horse could have been in the Cup. That's another possibility. And then how devastating it would be if they got there and then they had to scratch.
And then have to scratch.
You know what my mother says? Everything happens for a reason.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's absolutely. It's one race, Elise. It's a great race.
Yep.
But it's one race.
Yep, we're going to see her dance a few dances.
That's right.
But Mickey and Minnie, it's her turn to put the ears on tonight and see if she can get the win for Chris Ryder. Dexter Dunn, of course. This is a great driver-trainer combination. And here's a pretty neat filly.
Oh, watch this thing explode. I'll tell you, like I was saying to you earlier, I mean, if you'd asked me last year if there's a filly that could beat Chantilly, I'd have said no. You'd ask me this year if there's a 3-year-old filly out there that can beat Chantilly, I say no. And then I watched this one, and then my goodness, I mean, the body. If the body language on the horse isn't enough for you, look at the pilot behind it there, just sitting there, shoulders back, tight line. And I mean, she's not going to get up there and just win by a nose. She's going to overpower these horses, so she's going to be so incredibly tough to beat in here tonight, but they're all beatable.
Do you know what I noticed about her? She's got a kind of a distinct style. Like when you watch the replays, she kind of carries her head, like she buries her head a little bit. And she's just got, to me, she carries a little bit of swagger. I like that. She looks like a filly with a lot of confidence. Now, we are going to show you this one. This is Chantilly. But the other reason we're keeping it in the loop is because the 2nd and 3rd place finishers are back here tonight.
Yeah. They, raced good in against her. I mean, what more can you ask from horses? But both of them put up good efforts. Last Martini finished 2nd in there. I thought West Winds, who I'm going to throw in this race, in for 3rd. I thought she was incredibly good. You're going to see Timmy Tetrick coming on the outside with her. I thought she raced a good effort, and I think Tim could come up with another big effort with her. And coming out of the Noel Daly barn just doesn't get much better than that.
Yes, so it's an interesting event now. Just because this horse kind of lays over doesn't necessarily mean that she wins the race, by miles. It's a horse race. Anything can happen. If she is looking good, then we're going to be watching the time, of course, because that's going to be exciting to see as well. Have you seen her in person? Did you go out and meet her yet?
Yes, I did.
Yeah?
And she's
What'd you think?
Stunning.
Yeah?
Stunning. That's what I mean. Like, I mean, it just, when I seen her last week, I'm thinking, wow, she ever good luck? She still can't beat this other one. Then I watched her race, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, eventually we'll see a showdown between these two fillies, and we're looking forward to it. But tonight it is Mickey and Minnie who will be the feature in the Fan Hanover. At least she's the horse to beat for a purse of $390,000. Wow. Okay, well, that gets us through the first 10 on the evening's program. Guess what we're going to talk about after the commercial break?
Tell me.
We're going to talk about the NA Cup. But first, a quick commercial.
I'm going to stick around.
Check it out.
Introducing the new and improved taste of Pepsi Zero Sugar. Now more delicious. Zero never tasted so good. Try it now.
Quick commercial. I mean quick commercial. Now, I'm a little parched. You?
Yes, absolutely.
Shall we?
Shall we?
Yes.
Partake?
Yeah, so
well, you know me. You don't have to,
we didn't.
You don't have to ask me twice for Pepsi.
Glad you didn't shake mine, because I thought you could do that. And then you have to do the smile.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
it is a choice of a new generation.
Last year you were talking about where did the word Pepsi originate from, and then everybody was Googling it to find out. Now we know what that means. Do we really want to get into that again this year?
Maybe Pepsi does.
But we already have a Hall of Famer taking a sip of Pepsi and his, what would you call me? His long-suffering co-host. All right, so the North American Cup. This is the reason we're all here. Yeah, isn't it? This is the reason we're all here tonight for this $1 million race. It's certainly one of the highlights here at Mohawk. We've been having this event since 1984. And we've had it at various tracks, from Greenwood to Woodbine. Remember, we used to run the Queen's Plate, and then right after that, we'd run the North America Cup at Woodbine, and then now it is hosted here. And we're going to show you all of the elims from last week. First one we're going to take a look at is Captain Optimistic.
Big effort here by Dexter Dunn and Nancy Tactor. And Nancy's sending in a shoeing change on this guy. She's going to go from steel to aluminum all around, not just in front, but all around. That's a huge, dramatic shoeing change. Could really make this guy a lot quicker, but I don't know how much quicker he needs to be. He come first up and just absolutely drilled that bunch in there. So Captain Optimistic coming in here and picks up our winningest post position, Elisa, the 6th hole.
All right, this one got my heart pumping. Watching this light up my world last week, this was a great race because there was so much action in it, and it's set up for this deep closing effort.
You know, another thing, too, is I'll tell you something there. Chad Rosema, boy, he made this race exciting, too. This was an exciting call that he put on as well there. Well done, Chad. But you're not going to see this too often. I think even when I watched the replay with James McDonald, the interview that he did with Jeff Porchak, he was actually almost vibrating himself, you know what I mean? That he, I think he thought that the horse had that ability, but just he's never done that with him before. You don't often see a horse sitting last in the NA Cup elimination and then just sweep right around the whole field. So Tony Beaton, our trainer of Najinski last year, looking to double up
Yeah,
in
and
the
this
NA
would be
Cup.
pretty amazing for our top driver here in the room, James McDonald. Lou Print is the last elimination to take a look at. Now, he was in post position number 6, basically went to the front and kept on going.
Yeah. Could we stop this just for 1 second, producer Luke?
There you go.
Okay, now here's what I want you to see this, Elisa. Okay, so right now, Ronnie Wren, to me, he's playing possum with the one on the outside. He's got him beat, and he knows it. So every once in a while, when this one on the outside gets a little bit closer, he'll tap this one and he'll move away. At no time does he see Miller come off of his back. Now watch when he sees Miller and realizes the momentum
I saw
that
that
Miller
too.
has. Yeah, here, like I said, he's got Jason beat. He just gives him little taps, looks over, got him beat, shut him down, whip back. All good. Now watch when he sees Dave coming.
Right there.
Back, whoa! And I mean, if he doesn't start this horse up,
all
he's
over
beat.
again.
He's
I know.
beat. And on the run out, he's still moving fast. And this is what Miller and Moore do when they get together.
So funny. I was watching that race last week live. Of course, we're all watching the eliminations, and I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't see this horse coming.
No.
And you know what? I got to tell you something. I really like Prince Hal Hanover's chances tonight. I think it could be a purple evening tonight. But this is something really cool. And you see this time,
so cool.
from time to time on various sports shows, when they take the replays and they overlay them, right? So this is basically how those 3 eliminations line up if you
Go by time.
Yeah, and you lay them over top of each other. So just based on that, Light Up the World is really appearing to be the horse to beat. But I'm going to tell you, there are so many other things that obviously could happen, but it's just an interesting way to take a look at those eliminations.
I love this. I think that is such a cool shot.
All right, we got a lot of drivers that we want to meet who are going to be competing in tonight's big race. And Randy, you've been there, done that. It's got to be an amazing feeling, and it was pretty cool to see Scott Zeron win back in 2004 with It's My Show in a track record time, by the way, of 148-1.
Scotty Money, I'll tell you, what an amazing career this guy is fashioning forward, and I think all Canada should be proud of him.
This will be the first Cup appearance for driver Jason Bartlett from New York.
Yonkers best, right there. One of the best catch drivers in the United States, right right there are going to be up here tonight.
Of course, one of our home team is
with a
Louis
smile.
Roy. Yep, and we know that he won last year with Najinski. It was pretty awesome to watch him win that, and he's had quite a few Cup appearances.
Some of the lightest hands that I've ever seen on a driver.
Big smile there. That must have been after he won the race. Ronnie Wren Jr. in from Chagrin Falls, Ohio. It's his very first Cup appearance.
You know something? This is one of the first times that I got to see him drive up close, and I absolutely loved it because I kind of find he drives a little bit like a horseman.
Here's our local hero. He even has his own action figure. And this is James McDonald representing the hometown too, Guelph. I mean, the kid's right from here. Now that's via PEI, and I'm sure our PEI family is cheering him on tonight as well.
I would say so too. Again, you know, one of Canada's most proudest moments, you know, with James McDonald, the show that he's been putting on the last few years. What is it now? We're up to 4-time Canadian
Pretty
Driver
amazing.
of the Year. Amazing career.
Well, here's one of the biggest drivers in the world here to join us tonight, and this is Dexter Dunn. $90 million in North American earnings. 2024 USA Driver of the Year. He is in from New Jersey, but that's via New Zealand.
You know, there's one of my favorite movies was a Paul Newman movie called Cool Hand Luke. I would call this guy Cool Hand Dexter. Never gets shooken. Never, you know, and never is in a bad spot or anything like that. He just really knows his craft.
Now, even though Yannick Gingras is an American now, he's based out of New Jersey, we're going to claim him as one of our own because he was born in Quebec.
Yeah, definitely. You know, really bright light for Canadian racing. This guy can do everything that he can do on the track, and he's one of the few drivers that can actually come in, talk into a microphone, and is really good at that as well. So really big time. It's one that we should be proud of to have in the industry, this guy.
Here's one that you're probably pretty proud of. This affectionately known by Randy Waples as Beaker. It's Doug McNair's huge opportunity tonight. He's had 5 Cup drives. Can you believe that at his young age?
Yeah, amazing. And, you know, he's going in here with the opportunity to win this race for his father, you know what I mean? So, I mean, just amazing, the pair of them, what they do. And I'll stack you know, Dougie up against anybody there. He's got intangibles. He does, you know, I find that a lot of his driving is just pure genius.
Speaking of genius, how about Mr. Purple?
Oh,
come
yeah.
on now. I think he is a significant player in tonight's race. He drives Prince Al Hanover for Dr. Ian Moore. You saw that replay. I think they got a big one up their sleeve tonight.
One of the greatest drivers ever in the sport of harness racing, and has been carrying this huge, like this very high plateau that he keeps his craft at. He's been carrying it there for about 30 years. You know, just an amazing driver, the Buckeye.
So we go from a guy who's been around for a long time to one of the newest faces in harness racing, that being Braxton Boyd from Michigan. Mid-20s, it's his very first Cup appearance. I bet he's keyed up tonight.
You know something? I think that, you know, he's got a bit of an advantage, Braxton Boyd, because he's young and he's probably not, he's one of the few that probably isn't feeling a whole lot of pressure at this moment. You know what I mean? Because he's got his whole career ahead of him, you know what I mean? He's got the 10 hole. So, I mean, I think he's going to go off as a little bit of an underdog. But two things. Number one, I watched him drive a horse called Van Diemen Blue Chip there and he's fearless, this kid. And then I watched him drive Madden Oaks, the horse that he has in this race. Again, a fearless drive as well. So what he's going to do out of the 10 hole, who knows? But this guy's going to have a long career in the sport. And again, another driver that is exciting. He makes things happen.
So we've met our drivers. Now let's meet the trainers, okay?
Yes.
Because we have some veterans and some people with their very first Cup starters tonight, including this guy here. That's Jared Bako coming in from New York. Now, we will claim as a Canadian as well because he's from Ontario. This is his very first Cup starter tonight.
Yeah, he learned the craft from his father, Laurie Bako, one of my favorites. One time, Laurie was training for the Copus family, I think, as a matter of fact. But Jared Bako, you know, hardworking kind of a guy, recently gone down to the States, but back up here to win the NA Cup for Canada. 2
young guns. You got Hunter Oakes in this race as well. This will be his very first Cup starter. And then we get to some legends. Dr. Ian Moore, recently installed into the Horse Racing Hall of Fame. He is a legend up here, the trainer of some pretty amazing horses, and he has 2 entries tonight.
One of the sharpest horsemen I've ever been around in my life. Now, Ronnie Burke, I would have to say that definitely one of the sharpest horsemen as well, and also one of the most hardest working individuals that I've ever saw.
And of course, Ron Burke won in 2014 with JK End of an Era. We got a few more to take a look at. Another home team guy, and that's Tony Beaton from Waterdown, Ontario. Now, he came to Ontario via Nova Scotia, so I'm sure a lot of people will be watching in Truro today to see how he does, and we know what he did last year. He won the Cup. One
of the nicest people I've ever met, and one of the most talented as well. Just a superior human being, and I mean, best of luck tonight, Tony. As for that lady beside you, wow, what a career she's fashioning.
Yep, talk about girl power. She's had 6 Cup starters. She has won it. She won it with Captain Crunch back in 2019, and she also won in 2020, so back-to-back Cup wins. That time she won with Tall Dark Stranger. Here's Greg McNair, familiar face around this paddock.
I've drove a few for him. I think that picture was taken after one of the times I drove for him because he looks a little bit angry right there. But, a crack shot. A lot of people, you got to understand, this horse is not far away. You got to pay attention to this horse because between him and Dougie, I think that this horse could come up with a huge effort tonight.
I saw, actually, when I was walking around the grandstand area, it looks like we're going to have a lot of people here from the London Knights. They're going to be here to cheer on Crack Shot this evening.
Part owner Dale Hunter.
There you go. And then Cameron Capone, he is the trainer of Madden Oaks, and first Cup starter for him tonight as well.
Obviously, you can see by his earnings and his wins, he's just starting his career. But his dad, Mark Capone, one of the top trainer for for a very long time. I met Cameron Capone when I was down in White Birch in New Jersey working for Determination. What a character this guy is. Yeah, he's just so much fun to be around. He's always happy and bubbly. Kind of reminds you of Dan. Our man Dan here, Chewy.
Yeah, kind of reminds
Always
you of that.
in a good mood.
You know what it does show you, though, is that the sport of harness racing is in good hands. I mean, we have some young up-and-comers and, of course, our veterans as well, but lots of youngsters. They're in their 20s, like we're old people.
Well, you certainly aren't
First of all, I'm Benjamin Button. I'm aging backwards. But the other thing is tonight we're going to have to stay up really late, which can be tricky for some of us. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can always hit the pause button and watch it tomorrow morning if you can't stay up for race number 13. But you want to because let me tell you why. I'll give you 421,000 reasons why you want to stay up for race number 13 on the program, where we have the mandatory payout for the Jackpot High 5. It's a $50,000 claimer, and they give us 12, which means we got trailers in this race. Favoritism has been given to the 6. That's Dragon on the Beach for James McDonald and Dave Manerian. You're going to key this horse in your ticket tonight.
I think this is a huge drop down for him coming from the horses that he's raced in the past, and moving into this class. It took a mark of 48-3 over our circuit last season. Has already won in 50. You'll see his last start here was the winning effort, but that was back on May the 31st. So, I honestly think, Elisa, that there's a reason why he's in this 50,000 claimer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they're putting him in here to keep him. I think they're putting him in here, and thinking that, at some point somebody's going to grab him and move on with him. But I do think he's the class of the field. I'm willing to support him.
It's called marketing aggressively.
Yes,
that's the way I like to put it. And this is a horse that a lot of people are going to be using. But guess what? John Rollis has passed along a ticket as well, and he likes to go long shot shopping once in a blue moon. He's going to use the 1 on top, and that's Order 1 to go, 5-1 morning line. John, take us through your ticket.
Yeah, I know that the 6 horse is going to be tough to beat here, Dragon on the Beach, but I'm going to try Order 1 to go, fresh off the claim here for new trainer Gary Murner. We know that this guy likes to do his best work late in the mile, and with 12 horses and, in typical high 5 fashion, there's going to be some speed to chase in this group. So I think there's going to be a lot of speed, especially early on, and hopefully driver Jason Bartlett, who's going to stick around to the finale here and sit behind this guy. Hopefully he can work out a pretty nice trip. You know what? Maybe he's going to get a little bit more aggressive with them too. Bartlett typically has an aggressive nature when he wants to sit behind horses, and I think that maybe this guy could be spotted in a nice spot early, and I think that he might be able to pick them off late. So I'm going to take a stand with Order 1 to go on my ticket.
So that's a look at John's ticket. You've seen Randy's ticket, and now you're going to see Mark McKelvey's ticket. Mark's going to be doing a lot of work on tonight's program as well. We'll see him doing a number of different roles, but Dragon on the Beach is what he's going to do as well. He'll key that horse in his Jackpot High 5 ticket. Then he'll go 3 deep, 4 deep. He'll basically start to get closer to hitting the all button for the 4th and 5th spots. So his ticket costs $72 for a 20-cent wager, $57.60 cents is the price if you want to play along with Garnet Barnsdale and his ticket. No single for him. So unlike some of the others, he's going to use a number of different horses. He'll use the 1, 3, 6, and 9 in the top spot twice. So that's what he'll have, and then go a little bit deeper in the other legs. I think that's going to cover all of the Jackpot High 5 tickets. And here's the selections for the 13th and final race on the program as well. We'll get Ghislaine Paquette added into the mix there as he uses the 6 horse as well. Okay, guys, that's what we got. Are you ready to get this party started?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
The moment is here. The time is now. We are on the verge of one of the biggest races here on Canadian soil and looking forward to it. Enjoy your night here at Woodbine Mohawk Park.